Hey everybody, I'm Buster Green, and welcome back to my review of FUUTO PIs. Now, if you're not subscribed, I'm literally 110 subscribers from being monetized, and I'm very much out of patience with that. So, if you're one of the 500 people who watched my last review, please subscribe. I only need 100 of you to do it. Then I'll start getting money from this, which would be cool. Alright, anyway, so episode 4 starts off with Kamome Billboard Hall, where the main characters all live, and we get another super 3D up the stairs sequence with Tokumi and Philip. Philip is playing with his back camera drone that he never used that much in the series before, and also in this episode, Philip has a cool new colored outfit. Tokumi starts questioning if Philip likes her, and Philip basically phrases it that he likes her as a subject, which suddenly makes her very self-aware, and then Philip realizes that Shotaro told him not to talk like a mad scientist, but it's too late, now Tokumi hates him. Anyway, after the OP, we get into this new case, the Terrible M. Shotaro is visited by a producer and a programmer, and they're receiving death threats. Now, the programmer looks like a Digimon protagonist, but it turns out she's a girl, and yeah, what a girl she is. Very, very, very a girly girl. Anyway, so this time there's a mobile game developer who created this trashy, sexy gacha game called Monster El Dorado, and the logo looks like a ripoff of Monster Hunter. I feel like the El Dorado part is probably a parody of a famous Japanese cell phone game I don't really care for. Anyway, the game itself seems to be a horny, basic fighting game, but it somehow has a pay-to-win mechanic that makes it unfair. Now, if I understand this case correctly, because they dumped a lot of info in this, 1 minute here, the main mascot character of the game is based on a cosplayer who weaseled her way up the ladder of success and fortune, and somehow got heavily incorporated into the game after the fact. Anyway, the death threats are actually directed at her because she's become the public face for this unfair gacha game, and the programmers got the threats because they have the mailbox. Anyway, so yeah, the threat letter is very serial killery, and it declares that on the 3rd anniversary of the game, the cosplayer will be killed for her crimes by a killer who identifies himself as M. Shotaro and Akiko are pretty sure it's probably just another guy memory dopant because they've been involved in this case. Although that is kind of a big jump of logic with the fact that it's just a basic threat so far. Anyway, Shotaro agrees to help because he's a ladies' man, but now the hardworking programmer is instantly having a negative aura from Shotaro's reaction. And, okay, stopping the video here. Let me predict this case because I think this case might be very simple and very stupid. My first guess, right from where we're at right now, is that the programmer girl here is the dopant because she's an antisocial, femcel virgin computer programmer who's wasted her life making a video game, while meanwhile cosplay chick came out of nowhere, used the success of this video game to become popular and famous while wearing a bikini, which is exactly the kind of fame that the programmer chick wanted but didn't actually get. And now she's going to turn into a dopant and try to kill this cosplayer in the hopes that killing her will make her popular and famous. Spoilers, it won't, but it will at least stop the cosplayer's parasocial relationship with this video game. Alright, continuing. So Shotaro immediately picks up that something here is a little off. Oh my god, I was completely wrong. Okay, the programmer is actually the cosplayer. She's just really shy and self-conscious about doing it. And wow, that's a weird outcome. I'm as surprised as Shotaro and Akiko. Anyway, Moneko hates doing this, and apparently she's got the looks but not the brains when she's an idol, and she really seems to resent being an idol, but her job is forcing her to do it. And wow, it's a very strange circumstance, a very confusing outcome. Okay, so at this point, Akiko becomes suspicious of the company because the company is forcing her to be a cosplayer when she obviously doesn't want to do it, and now she's in danger from doing it. Anyway, Akiko goes off on her own to stake out the event, while Shotaro goes back to the billiard hall, which is also covered in a mysterious dark aura. And apparently the dark aura is because Tokumi and Philip are at each other's throats trying to kill each other. So Shotaro quickly gives Philip a rundown of the case, but Philip is very zoned out over fighting with Tokumi. And Shotaro decides that Philip is up his own ass, too concerned about other things, so he leaves him. So Shotaro takes Tokumi out of there to stop them from fighting, and the two of them go down the highway where Tokumi also complains that Philip is stuck up his own ass, but Shotaro notices that Tokumi is also stuck up her ass. Meanwhile, at the same time, Akiko has been guarding the cosplayer, and we finally get our first look at the new Topant of the week. Looks to be a dragonfly, also definitely looks to be a man. If we were in classic Kamen Rider, this would be Dragonfly Man. Anyway, another reason Monaka hates being a cosplayer besides the death threat is the fact that she's being forced to do it. And in her view, it's a waste of time when she could otherwise be working to make the game better and keep doing programming. Monaka also keeps crying for something called a Maji P, which if you don't remember was her nickname for her boss. For whatever reason, her boss is absent from this event. It's a little suspicious, and it does raise the possibility that the boss might be the Dopant, but I'd say currently the chances that the boss is the Dopant are about 10%. Anyway, so then the event starts. The event is a weird cross between like an E3 gaming expo and like an idol concert. Everyone's got glow sticks. There's another trailer for Megu as the character, and she jumps out of the TV with her huge ass boobs and sings an anime song. Watcher Man cameos in the crowd. He's excited to see it, and she dances around and sings her song and does a full like performance where she jumps and spins a sword, and a ninja comes down from the rafters and she slashes at him to defeat him. Anyway, then Tokimi's Gaia memory starts detecting another Gaia memory in the area like it did in the last story arc, and out pops the Dragonfly Dopant who successfully kidnaps the cosplayer. Now Shotaro gets tied to a wall, so he has to use his memory device, which is the stag beetle, and it helps him escape because it's alive or has a brain or something. I forget how these like robot friends work, but Kamen Rider usually has some robot friends. Anyway, so the cosplayer feigns from having to deal with the Dragonfly Dopant, but then Tokimi saves her. And again, the Dragonfly Dopant here is a very old school Showa Kamen Rider Kaijin, aside from its anime-powered optimization to fly wherever the hell it wants. Kamen Rider W henshins in the battle, and they start fighting. Oh, and Philip corrects me at this point that it's not a dragonfly, it's a Meganura Gaia memory, because of course it's a Gaia memory based on a prehistoric animal, and not its modern day equivalent. At the same time, the Aurora Dopant is sitting on top of a building, and he does a cliche final boss move where he is more interested in seeing Kamen Rider W fight than watching the Meganura Dopant survive in battle. W hits the Meganura with a Cyclone Maximum Drive, which blows it hellfire with a tornado, but guess what? It actually survived that, which is bad because that was like a killer attack. Akiko and Tokimi work to get the cosplayer further away. They really should remove her cosplay outfit because that's part of the reason she's being targeted. And then the Meganura lets loose a supersonic wave, which seemingly increases the gravity in the area, totally disabling Akiko and Tokimi. Now, the Aurora Dopant says that the Meganura is a high-level Dopant, which explains how it survived a maximum drive attack. Kamen Rider W is surviving the gravity field, but it is being slowly, poisoned by it somehow for sure. And then Tokimi goes full zombie mode because she's seemingly being drawn in by the presence of the Aurora Dopant, who she no doubt has some weird history with. The Meganura Dopant flies down to kill the cosplayer, but Kamen Rider W blocks the attack with its back, and then he hits him with a metal stag maximum drive and chops him in half. Now the gravity field disperses at this point, but the Dopant still manages to escape and fly away. Aurora is very intrigued to see Tokimi there, and then he turns off his powers, and guess what? He has the same hair color as her. The Aurora Dopant is probably Tokimi's father, I'm gonna call it now. And also the other Dopants are probably also related to her, so goddammit, Tokimi is from a Dopant family. Anyway, Shotaro goes back to normal, and Philip again thinks Shotaro is going way too easy on Tokimi. Shotaro tells Philip to back down and considering the actions of the Meganura, and why it talked to the cosplayer the way it did. Shotaro then gives Tokimi the absolute nicest talking down to her he can manage, and pretty much just tells her to try harder, because the client almost died, and he calls her his assistant for the first time in a very lovey-dovey way. But also, holy shit, Shotaro is bleeding out. He got a huge slash on his back. The Dopant really got him. He surprisingly tanked through it to give everyone a talking to, and that was a rough couple of minutes. Wow, okay, episode over. In the SD cartoon, Shotaro and Philip swap bodies for no apparent reason, which fucks up their henshin. So instead of making a W, they make an X, which summons Kamen Rider X. All right, I laughed my ass off at that one. That was way better than the one from last week. That one was actually funny. Okay. Wow. Okay. Very, very crazy episode. Okay, so let me think for a sec if I can deduce who the Mega Neurodopan is. So the only real fact we have here is that we know it's a guy. So the only possible suspect that's still standing for that in this episode would be the boss of the company. I'm not going to say it's impossible for the boss of the company to be the dope hand, but with what we currently know, it makes zero sense, especially it was his idea to take the case to Shotaro and Philip. Otherwise, I don't know. Like, my main theory going into this was that the dope hand was going to be the programmer, but the twist is that she's actually the victim. So that completely blows that conclusion out of the water. Unless she did somehow put a hit out against herself, which would be really on par for the way this show uses plot twists. But I think if she did that, she'd have enough self-interest to stop being the cosplayer, which is what's being targeted, even though she is being forced into doing it. I guess there's some kind of lesson about female exploitation in this episode, or perhaps that a nerdy programmer girl would be popular if she just bounced around in a bikini showing off her boobs all day. But anyway, let's figure that out in part 2, because there will be a part 2 and maybe a part 3 based on the way the show's going. Aside from all that, we got a little bit more information about Tokimi, who is definitely in league with the Aurora Dopan somehow. The Aurora Dopan is definitely trying to become king of the city in some weird way. His current behavior is very interesting since he's using superpowers, but he's not using them for evil, so the heroes haven't caught on to him. Now, I'm calling it in this episode that the Aurora Dopan is almost definitely Tokimi's father, or maybe her older brother, since in the opening all the other Dopans aligned with him seem to be part of his family. I'm guessing that's a setup that Tokimi is the missing daughter of this evil Dopan family. That would kind of mirror the evil Dopan family from the original Kamen Rider W. And lastly, Shotaro is going out of this episode very fucked up, bleeding from his back, since the Mega Neurodopan is some kind of new high-level Dopan. People are telling me Kamen Rider W Extreme was destroyed in the original series, which sucks. So I'm guessing since this is a new series, they're going to have to come up with a brand new final form to deal with this. Maybe as soon as the next episode, because it has to be dealt with. I don't know, but I feel like the only way they're going to deal with this kind of crap is if they do get a new final form, and a new final form means new action figures to sell. So I feel like it's an obvious conclusion. Alright, anyway, I was me and Buster Green. Join me for my reaction to the next week's episode, and yeah, please subscribe because I will get monetized in 100 more subscribers, and that means a lot to me. Alright, thanks guys. Later!